tried to evade, saying, "Nothing, dearie. I just thought of something." But she persisted until he had to explain. "It made me think of your mother's sister, your Aunt Flora, that died when you were little," he said. "She was always telling how she was going on the stage, and talking about how she was certain she'd make a great actress, and all so on. And one day your mother broke out and said she ought 'a' gone on the stage herself, because she always knew she had the talent for it. And, well, they got into a kind of a spat about which one'd make the best actress. I had to go out in the hall to laugh." "Maybe you were wrong," Alice said, gravely. "If they both felt it, why, wouldn't that look as if there was talent in the family? I've always thought—" "No, dearie," he said, with a final chuckle. "Your mother and Flora weren't different from a good many others. I expect 90% of all the women I ever knew were just sure they'd be mighty fine actresses if they ever got the chance. Well, I guess it's a good thing. They enjoy thinking about it, and it don't do anybody any harm." Alice was piqued. For several days she had thought almost continuously of a career to be won by her own genius. Not that she planned details or concerned herself with first steps; her picturings overleaped all that. Principally, she saw her name great on all the billboards of that unkind city, and herself, unchanged in age but glamorous with fame and Paris clothes, returning in a private car. No doubt the pleasantest development of her vision was a dialogue with Mildred, and this became so real that, as she projected it, Alice assumed the proper expressions for both parties to it, formed words with her lips, even spoke some of them aloud. "No, I haven't forgotten you, Mrs. Russell. I remember you very pleasantly. You were Miss Palmer, I recall, in those funny old days. Very kind of you, I'm shaw. I appreciate your eagerness to do something for me in your own little home. As you say, a reception would renew my acquaintanceship with many old friends, but I'm sure you won't mind mentioning that I don't find much inspiration in these provincials. I really must ask you not to press me. An artist's time is not her own, though of course I could hardly expect you to understand." Thus Alice illuminated the dull time. But she retired from the interview with her father still manfully displaying an outward cheerfulness, while depression grew heavier within, as if she had eaten soggy cake. Her father knew nothing whatever of the stage, and she was aware of his ignorance; yet for some reason his innocently skeptical amusement reduced her bright project almost to nothing. Something like this always happened, it seemed. She was continually making these illuminations, all gay with gildings and colourings, and then, as soon as anybody else so much as glanced at them, even her father, who loved her, the pretty designs were stricken with a desolating pallor. "Is this life?" Alice wondered, not doubting that the question was original and all her own. "Is it life to spend your time imagining things that aren't so and never will be? Beautiful things happen to other people. Why should I be the only one that they never can happen to?" The mood lasted overnight, and was still upon her the next afternoon when an errand for her father took her downtown. Adams had decided to begin smoking again, and Alice felt rather degraded, as well as embarrassed, when she went into the large shop her father had named and asked for the cheap tobacco he used in his pipe. She fell back upon an air of amused indulgence, hoping thus to suggest that her purchase was made for some faithful old retainer, now infirm; and although the calmness of the clerk who served her called for no such elaboration of her sketch, she ornamented it with a little laugh and with the remark, as she dropped the package into her coat pocket, "I'm sure it will please him. They tell me it's the kind he likes." Still playing Lady Bountiful, smiling to herself in anticipation of the joy she was bringing to the simple old negro or Irish follower of the family, she left the shop. But as she came out upon the crowded pavement her smile vanished quickly. Next to the door of the tobacco shop there was the open entrance to a stairway, and above this rather bleak and dark aperture a signboard displayed in begrimed gilt letters the information that Frincke's Business College occupied the upper floors of the building. Furthermore, Frincke here publicly offered personal instruction and training in practical mathematics, bookkeeping, and all branches of the business life, including stenography, typewriting, etc. Alice halted for a moment, frowning at this signboard as though it were something surprising and distasteful which she had never seen before. Yet it was conspicuous in a busy quarter; she almost always passed it when she came downtown, and never without noticing it. Nor was this the first time she had paused to lift toward it the same glance of vague misgiving. The building was not what the changeful city defined as a modern one, and the dusty wooden stairway, as seen from the pavement, disappeared upward into a smoky darkness. So would the footsteps of a girl ascending there lead to a hideous obscurity, Alice thought, an obscurity as dreary and as permanent as death. And, like dry leaves falling about her, she saw her wintry imaginings in the May air. Pretty girls turning into withered creatures as they worked at typing machines. Old maids taking dictation from men with double chins. Alice saw old maids of a dozen different kinds taking dictation. Her mind's eye was crowded with them, as it always was when she passed that stairway entrance. And though they were all different from one another, all of them looked a little like herself. She hated the place, and yet she seldom hurried by it or averted her eyes. It had an unpleasant fascination for her, and a mysterious reproach, which she did not seek to fathom. She walked on thoughtfully to-day, and when at the next corner she turned into the street that led toward home, she was given a surprise. Arthur Russell came rapidly from behind her, lifting his hat as she saw him. "Are you walking north, Miss Adams?" he asked. "Do you mind if I walk with you?" She was not delighted, but seemed so. "How charming!" she cried, giving him a little flourish of the shapely hands. And then, because she wondered if he had seen her coming out of the tobacco shop, she laughed and added, "I've just been on the most ridiculous errand." "What was that?" "To order some cigars for my father. He's been quite ill, poor man, and he's so particular. But what in the world do I know about cigars?" Russell laughed. "Well, what do you know about them? Did you select by the price?" "Mercy, no!" she exclaimed, and added, with an afterthought, "Of course he wrote down the name of the kind he wanted, and I gave it to the shopman. I could never have pronounced it." Chapter 9